Don't forget to introduce yourselves.
And smile, but you know what I'm thinking? Maybe just saying smile is not enough. You know what really works? When you look like you know something that, you know, you're sleeping with his girlfriend, he doesn't know it. So you got this kind of like a little secret from each other. It seems like that makes those kinds of smiles work better than just trying to remember to smile. Because I tell you, if you don't smile enough, you know what we're going to do. We're going to put the smile sign up, a big smile. You know, the big smile thing we hold. And then you'll do this. You won't smile, and that looks bad too. But we're going to make you smile. There's another thing we could do that involves alligator clips, batteries, and parts of your body that we can up and make you smile. Well.
All right. 5, 4, 3, 2.
Hello and welcome to Press Start. I was gonna do how much I was going to do, the intro or the topic? All right.
I'll tell them 3 this time. 3, 2, 1.
Hello, welcome to Press Start. I'm CJ Melendez.
I'm Zeblo Ramos.
And today we're going to talk about Sony PlayStation and the lagging behind with the PlayStation Vita versus Nintendo. They're kind of struggling right now. The PlayStation Vita is not meeting expected sales figures. So we're going to talk about that a little bit and see what Sony might do to remedy the situation. So what do you think about the Vita? I have one, you have one.
Hardware-wise, to start with, it's definitely a much more appealing product to me than the 3DS. To start with the 3DS, the technology to me just isn't so prevalent. The fact that you have that limited scope, I know a lot of people who have their 3DS actually end up turning it off. I'm sure people at home do the same. Because you know, you have to sit perfectly staring right at it from a center view, and it's not so much, you know, when you're laying down, you can't just slouch around.
It's not really comfortable.
Versus the Vita, which has graphics that are almost on par with PS2.
I think a little bit better.
Would agree.
It's very clear. It's just, I guess the model-wise, a little better than PS2, but it's very clear HD.
Definitely is.
Which I prefer.
But overall, hardware-wise, it offers so much more than 3DS, and it's really disappointing to see that, you know, Sony's not doing as much as they should be to push their product.
Yeah. It's like they made this really awesome mobile device with so many features and so much strong horsepower, if you want to call it that, and they're just not marketing it. It doesn't make any sense. They're probably making, it's probably such a huge loss on each individual unit sold, and they're not doing much to remedy that except for releasing memory cards, proprietary memory cards that cost, what is it, not $100 for 32 gigabytes?
Yeah, it's absolutely absurd. There's no reason for it to be that way. Nintendo's just much better with their fan service, I guess, overall.
Yeah.
They're supporting.
They apologize for their.
And they offered everybody free stuff.
You're an early adopter, so we're sorry. We have a price drop for you guys who want to buy one, and now we have free games for you who bought it early. Sorry. And they actually apologize, which is the best thing about Nintendo. They're like a very whimsical little child, and they cry and.
That's always been the Nintendo charm, I guess, with everything. Sony's never had that kind of edge over them. My issue with the Vita right now is that the connectivity with the PS3 is really lagging behind, especially from what hackers and modders are doing with it.
Modders have Ni no Kuni working on remote play, and the latest remote play game is God of War and the Ico Collection, which are 3-year-old games, 2-year-old games.
Meanwhile, I'm sure many people saw, even before the Vita was out, people had Battlefield already running with remote play in some of those videos, and this was all homebrew stuff. So it's really sad that it's sad to say, but it's going to be another PSP if they don't try to turn things around.
Well, the PSP got successful maybe 2 years into its life cycle, and now.
And even now, half of that success is homebrew.
That's true. That's very true. But I think what it is that Nintendo has the games, and while the Vita does have games, it would be a stupid argument to say, oh, other Sony console doesn't have any games. The Vita just has games too sparsely apart. Like we just got Persona 4 Golden in January. Was it January? Yes, in January. And there's nothing else out right now. I mean, I don't really want anything. We have to wait till April for Soul Survivor, Kiichi Inafune's new game. So it's just, the Vita is such a good little thing, but it's like Sony doesn't want to tell people that. I know they actually just fired their advertising firm for the Vita.
Did they?
And now they hired someone new. So I'm hoping they're going to ramp it up. And even this week we have the Sony conference, the 20th. This is going to be live streamed. And I'm hoping that they say, this is the Vita, we're finally going to do stuff with it. So you'll be happy you paid $250 for it. Well, I'm already happy with it. It's just, I feel like it's.
I am too. It's just it's
potential.
not appealing enough to the grand market of people,
Yeah.
and that's really where it's falling behind at this point. Again, with the games, it's also in part that they don't have as many first-party like memorable
Yeah.
characters, and Nintendo markets off that really hard. They put
Yeah.
Mario in pretty much every game, even
Mario
if they're not
is-
his games.
Yeah.
So a lot of that has to play with it as well. I don't know. It's really up to Sony to try to turn their own product around at this point.
So we have a question. I don't know to interrupt. You leave it on the tape, just good. Are you going to have the monitor back there showing
Yeah.
the pictures of some of these things?
The goal is to, like, for example, okay.
Not the games. I mean, of the
Yeah.
the packages even.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking that not everybody's going to know. You're doing inside kind of talk, which is great, but you're going to have other people who are trying to get to where you are,
Yeah.
and they're going to look at that. They need to see those packages.
We
and
can
they-
even do like footages overlaying our talking, where it just shows the gameplay or what.
Well, if you
Yeah.
do that, you're both doing a much better job of projecting this. But now, if you're going to have that in the background,
Well,
you can
see-
say, as you can see on the packages, you know, you get front and back now. You can talk that way too.
Well, see, I think, at least in my
Yeah.
vision, I was picturing the background thing, for example, talking about PlayStation and the Vita,
Mhm.
to have kind of like a slideshow of the Vita and stuff like that going
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
And you know how they're talking about things more advanced. We could do a slide over of, like, you know, what a specific thing they're talking about. Like if they're talking about the PS3 connectivity thing, if someone watching it, like I personally don't know much about it, and if they, you know, we could do a swipe over of like a 5-10 second thing of them still talking, and then just some like facts on the screen,
mhm. Yeah.
or it can even
Oh,
just
yeah.
be like a bottom bar thing, not like
Sure.
a whole screen thing.
Absolutely. But as long as we're going to have it in the picture, they may as well be able to refer to it too. As
Yeah.
you can see, such and such, that kind of thing. You also might want to get a little more humorous with it later on, where you can say, even a 5-year-old can do that, and we can have footage of a 5-year-old doing it. You know, we just get a 5-year-old and train him to do something. So that kind of thing, you know. And if you can't do this, you're not as quick as this kid is. You are smiling more in the right kind of way.
Yeah.
Smiling is not the right word for it. It's showing a person being personal, personal, and that's coming through a lot better. And the stuff that you were doing, where you were obviously trying to do it too, where you're talking out there, works really well.
Yeah.
It really does. It's you're adding a third. Think of that maybe as adding a third dimension to
Yeah.
it, because you are. Yeah, I like that. I think this worked. I'd say 10 times better than the first one.
Yeah, it was definitely better.
All right.
Especially you engage like you said, the third person of the camera. You engage it a lot more.
I think we just have to mainly focus on when we actually have an episode, have something written down. Something.
Yeah, of course, we can teleprompter.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
And also maybe to think of who you're talking to out there. The old trick is that thing that we're talking about. You remember Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood? Okay, Fred Rogers was originally a television producer. He wasn't a person on the air, and he was the producer of a show back in the 1940s with Gabby Hayes. And Gabby Hayes was Roy Rogers' sidekick for a while. And he's this guy that had this beard, and you could see all of his food in his beard, you know. And his sponsors were Quaker puffed rice and Quaker puffed wheat, shot from guns. And there was 2 guns that shot this puffed wheat and stuff. And so I saw an interview with him late in his life, and I thought, oh God, here's a guy who fell in it. He was very lucky. And I realized he's also a genius, and so was Rogers. He said, well, you seem to relate to the little kids so well. You show westerns up, but you get thousands of letters. Why is that? He said, well, I remember something Fred Rogers told me one time. When you're talking to people out there, talk to one little buckaroo at a time. Right? And I always remember that. So you have to have a person that, you know, tells me the same thing when Tom Brokaw was doing cameras that were automatic cameras. I was over at the studio the first week he did that. I said, how are you relating to it? He said, it's a pain in the ass because I used to speak to the cameraman. He was my one guy out there that I was really just, for years I delivered the news to a cameraman. And now I don't have a person there, and it's so I'm having to imagine it. But you know, maybe that's the key to it too. Maybe there's a third person in your conversation, and it's this guy out here, and you're sharing with them. Yeah, why not? That's not a bad idea. Yeah, we could because and maybe it is somebody who doesn't know as much as you do. Because you do a good job of that. I really think that there's going to be a certain group. Your area of interest is people who know what you know, people who'd like to know what you know, people who don't, and people who just they like to know. You know, they'd like to know much more about this, and they like to know. You're sharing secret information to some people because they're not there yet. They want to know. It's damn good, I think. It's got more potential now than it did with that girl that we shot with. That did not work. Last year we tried this.
Wow.
You gotta fail sometimes to succeed. This is gonna succeed. We gotta put some lipstick on him though. We still need the chick.